you're watching the Daily Debates live Wednesday here on Nile TV International, I'm Taghreed Hussein, and tonight we'll be talking more of tourism through a traveler's eye experience. This in addition also to highlighting the major stories that made headlines earlier in the day. As we all know that within the framework of the New Republic's keenness to achieve real sustainable development and progress on all levels, and through reading into Egypt's stance today regionally, continentally and internationally, it's obvious that the state stands definitely as a holder of an important key to most regional and international issues that aims, those aims wouldn't have been achieved without a strong foreign policy to drive the necessary changes. Our foreign policy has been and will continue to be about the dynamics of the choice, serving the national interests, achieving progress, as well as achieving comprehensive and effective development. So on tonight's episode, we'll be highlighting the New Republic's success on the different levels. The first segment, we have two segments for tonight. On the first segment, we'll be highlighting more concerning the presidential activity earlier in the day. His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi was in United Arab Emirates for Abu Dhabi summit, a very important encounter that took place earlier in the day. And we will be highlighting more about the main aims and the consultations and coordination on achieving regional and international security and stability. The President arrived this morning in the United Arab Emirates to participate in Abu Dhabi summit that brings together the leaders of Egypt, Jordan, and the Gulf cooperation states. According to His Excellency Ambassador Bassam Radi, the official spokesperson for the Presidency of the Republic, the President's participation in the Abu Dhabi summit comes within the framework of the country's keenness to strengthen and develop its distinctive relations with all the brotherly countries participating in the summit, as well as with the cooperation on strengthening mechanisms of joint action for the sake of the Arab people. Noteworthy that the Abu Dhabi summit aims at consultation and coordination on achieving regional and international security and stability. The very important summit meeting that sees more on consultations and coordination between the leaders on achieving regional and international security and stability. So the foreign policy is very important in international relations. The President arrived earlier in the United Arab Emirates, taking part in Abu Dhabi summit that brings together leaders of Egypt, the Gulf Cooperation Council, and Jordan. We are honored to have with us His Excellency Ambassador Dr. Mohamed Hegazy, former assistant to the Foreign Minister, to highlight more concerning the significance of the President's participation in this important summit. Mr. Ambassador.
Hello, Taghreed. How are you?
How are you, Ambassador Hegazy? Your Excellency, this summit sees consultations and coordination between the leaders on achieving regional and international security and stability. So it comes timely, very important, key milestone in our international relations.
I agree with you, Taghreed. This very important summit comes in a very crucial moment where the international scenery is alarming and a lot of challenges has to be discussed between the parties and the countries of the region. And this very important gathering is to discuss a few very important challenges. The most is the current political and security situation nearby in Europe, where the Russian-Ukrainian war is ongoing for almost 10 months now, imposing a lot of pressure on our national securities in the region, in the Gulf, in the Mediterranean and the Red Sea, and around the Arab world and Africa. So the Middle East is not far away from where all it's happening now, and a lot of polarization and pressure on our countries, on our securities, And time is important to wrap up the situation and understand what best can we do to protect our national security, and together moving forward to sustain a consolidated Arab position, as well as discussing also one of the most crucial points, which is the economic situation. After 2 years of COVID-19, there is now a 10-month ongoing war between Russia and Ukraine, which has imposed a lot of pressure on our economies, and we need also to seek our mutual support so that the Arab world can face the new challenge. Of course, the break of the value chain of the food security, the increase in the power and the hydrocarbons everywhere. It is also another dimension, the debt as well as the hike in the food prices. All those challenges requires a joint effort so that we can together look into the way forward and how best can we in the Arab world maintain our security and move forward to consolidate our economies. Besides, definitely the third pillar after the security, military pressure and the economic pressure, there is the current situation in the regional challenges and problems, particularly the Palestinian issue, which has been the center of the talks of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi yesterday with President of Palestine Mahmoud Abbas and the Jordanian King Abdullah, and this also was part of today's discussion in Abu Dhabi. So the summit in Abu Dhabi is an addition of the Arab consultation since our summit in Algiers. A lot of happenings that requires an Arab discussion where we can together draft and design the way that we will confront the current challenges. Don't forget that international powers and pressures is continuing on our region. A couple of weeks ago in Riyadh, we met on the 8th of December with the Chinese leader, and the Arab summit in Riyadh was also another dimension of how international power is trying to seek mending fences with the Arab world. And then President Biden also has invited 40 African leaders to a similar discussion. It means that polarization and pressure and competition between international powers is going on. I think also Russia in April will call for the second Russian-African summit. So what I can see is that there is a lot of competition in the regional arena, being it in the Middle East, Arab world, or Africa, where the powers in conflict are trying to polarize and trying to galvanize their position and try to also maintain links with the Arab world and Africa in competition, which the Arab world has to consult and seek the best way that we can benefit from our relations with our international parties without really taking sides. Now, Africa and the Arab world and the Gulf countries are very aware of their interests. We will not really go into parties or engulf into confrontations. We are friends of all who are seeking really to maintain its interest with the respect of our interest as well. Yes. I think this is the motto under which the discussion in Abu Dhabi took place. How can the Arab leaders together protect their security, and how can together decide on what to do in relations to their regional security, as well as discussing how best we can solve the Palestinian questions and settle other disputes in the area.
Yes, Your Excellency, as you've kindly mentioned, that it's a very important meeting that comes timely, comes after a day, after a summit that brought together President al-Sisi, King Abdullah of Jordan, with the Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas in Cairo. We have seen that there is an intensification of meetings over the past year discussing promoting cooperation and economic integration. Definitely, we had also the Chinese Foreign Minister's tour of Africa that concluded yesterday in Egypt. Egypt, mainly aiming to consolidate China's African presence and promoting a strategic partnership in Cairo. So more than one important dimension in our foreign policy, Mr. Ambassador.
Indeed, Tariq, I think the visit of the first visit of the newly appointed Chinese foreign minister to Egypt among 5 African countries is a manifestation of how China perceives its relation with Egypt as a comprehensive strategic partnership, where Egypt was the second leg of the newly appointed in late December of the Chinese Minister of Foreign Affairs. So he visited Addis Ababa, where he met in the premises of the African Union with the representative of the African countries, in a message that Africa is on the top priority to China. Second leg was in Cairo, where he also visited the Arab League, met the president, and this also another sign that China is giving a lot of attention to Egypt as bilateral partner, but also to the Arab world as one of the most important trade partner to China, where 330 billion US dollar was exchanged last year between the Arab world and China, making China the first partner to the Arab world with 63 billion to USA in regards to Africa trade. China is, I think, a partner that is always showing itself as a reliable, supportive, and a partner that does not intervene in our internal affairs. According to those bases, Egypt's relations with China, as well as with the United States, with Russia, and the European parties, is maintained under the supervision of the leadership based on the principle of non-interference and respect of national sovereignty. This is, I think, the basis under which Egypt and I think the Arab world is now running its very crucial relations with all parties without really leaning to one side and without involving into conflicts that will engulf all our resources in a very difficult time where we need to consolidate our resources to face the challenges that we are facing. We came out of COVID-19 and we were supposed to move into revitalized economies, but what happened is that we were all engulfed into the ramification of this unjustified war against Ukraine, and I think that all the efforts has to be now towards bringing in peace, stability, to confront those who are calling for wars and for galvanizing regions into wars and confrontation. I think time has come that an international led peace efforts be conducted in the heart of Europe, and I wonder how Europeans are letting the matter ongoing like this, a carnage between 2 European nations that shouldn't really go that long. I think the United Nations also has to carry its responsibility, because leaving Russians and the Ukraine for months to war against each other is unjustified. The sanctions also imposed on Russia is hurting us. Russia is not a small economy, and this economy is suffering, and we are suffering as well. The whole third world and the Arab world and Africa are paying a hefty price. Russia is not like a small nation. It's a huge nation, huge economy, integrated in the world economy. So when there is sanctions, we all feel the pain. And I think Europe has to carry its responsibility, and the ongoing war has to be stopped, and an international-led effort has to be conducted immediately in the beginning of 2023. No one really has an appetite for more war, more sufferings, and I think the world community should act as well.
Yes, thank you, Your Excellency. Ambassador Dr. Mohamed Hegazy, former assistant to the foreign minister. Thank you so much, Ambassador, for this comprehensive outlook and highlighting the main story of the day, His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, and taking part in the Abu Dhabi summit. This has been really a cornerstone and a continuous sense of coordination and partnership with our brotherly Arab nations. Short break and we'll be back.